Before I start, I've got some exciting news to share with you. Mark your calendars for CrimeCon Manchester 2025, partnered by True Crime, and it's set to take place on the 27th of September 2025. So CrimeCon UK is going to Manchester for the very first time this year, and I will be there, along with some of the biggest names in true crime, at the ultimate true crime event. Whether you've been watching my content from the very beginning, or if maybe you've just started binging, this is your chance to meet me in person, share your theories, and perhaps even uncover new details behind some of these stories that I cover. I'm beyond excited to meet you all. I have no expectations that the reverse is true. But join me and the true crime community at CrimeCon Manchester, partnered by True Crime, the expert-led true crime channel available across all platforms. Let's make this the most unforgettable CrimeCon yet. You won't want to miss it. I truly, genuinely, and from the bottom of my heart hope to see you there. Now on with the episode. Throughout the now considerable history of this channel, we've looked at a whole range of murders, from stranger murders to rivalries gone extreme to mass killers and most things in between. And many of them follow a formula, because that's what our brain expects from these scenarios. One example of this is in the case of family annihilators. They are almost exclusively male and are categorized based on their reasoning. But they are not always male, as today's tawdry tale will example. We're going to Michigan and to 2018 to look at the puzzling and heartbreaking case of Lauren Stuart. This is Murder Crows. Keego Harbor is a city in Oakland County within the US state of Michigan. A northern suburb of Detroit, Keego Harbor is roughly 27 miles or 43.5 kilometers from downtown Detroit, and is about 3 miles southwest of Pontiac. As of the 2010 census, the city had a population of 2,970, with a land area of 0.5 square miles or 1.29 square kilometers. Keego Harbor is the third smallest city by land area in the state of Michigan, after Petersburg and Clarkston. The first non-native settlers to the area arrived between 1825 and 1830. Cass Lake drew many wealthy residents to purchase land along the lake for vacationing. In 1890, a railway line was built through Keego Harbor to connect to Detroit and Pontiac, making the area much more accessible. At the turn of the century, a prominent Pontiac lawyer, Joseph E. Sawyer, purchased and platted land just to the southwest along Orchard Lake. He built a canal to connect the smaller Dollar Lake to Cass Lake and declared the area to be a harbour on the eastern edge of Cass Lake. He named the area Keego, which was a phonetic spelling of the Anishinaabemoan word Gigo, meaning fish. The spelling Keego comes from the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem The Song of Hiawatha. The community was originally part of West Bloomfield Township before incorporating as an independent city in 1955. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 0.55 square miles, of which 0.5 square miles is land and 0.05 square miles, or about 9%, is water. The small Dollar Lake and canal remain within the city of Keego Harbor. The city is on the eastern shores of Cass Lake and is surrounded by Sylvan Lake on the east, Orchard Lake Village on the southwest, Waterford Township on the north, and West Bloomfield Township on the south and northwest. The city is considered a relatively well-to-do place to settle, and it is to this relatively affluent city we go today to look at a very bleak series of events from 2018. But to get a more complete picture of the Stuart family, we need to go back to their very public falling out with their religion in 2013. Up until 2013, the Stuart family of Dan Stuart, his wife Lauren, and their children Stephen and Bethany, well, they had been devout Jehovah's Witnesses. As such, they didn't celebrate birthdays, Easter, Christmas, or any other event that they believed went against the teachings of Christ. Their religion also frowned upon higher education, meaning that Stephen and Bethany would be cast out of the fold if they decided to enroll in college. Even though Dan's life had revolved around the church up until then, he wanted his kids to earn degrees in order to secure their futures. When he and Lauren pleaded their case to the elders, they were informed in no uncertain terms that all four of them would be disfellowshipped, that's a big word, isn't it, if they disobeyed church policies. Now, the threat had given the couple pause, because nearly everyone they knew, including members of their extended family, belonged to the church. In keeping with the rules laid down by the higher-ups, no one in the congregation, not even their own flesh and blood, would be allowed to acknowledge Dan, Lauren, or their children if they were excommunicated.
Sin has been disfellowshipped.
It crushed my whole family.
Okay, to continue the meeting, we may remember last month's service.
Later, my father explained to me that I couldn't remain in the home because I refused to change my lifestyle. He told me I was having a negative effect on my younger brother and sister. Then I'm out of this house. I was determined to do what I wanted. When I left home that day, all I could think about was Eric. I didn't even care that my parents' hearts were breaking.
Every time Watchtower portrays someone that is disfellowshipped, they always treat the believing family as the victim. But Sonia was essentially kicked out of her house for the crime of dating an unbeliever. I've heard cases of young girls in Mexico being disfellowshipped, usually after getting a teen pregnancy, and they're kicked out of their homes. Sonia wasn't bringing drugs into the house or living a life of crime, but she's still seen as a corrosive influence on her family members simply for the reason that she's disfellowshipped.
I didn't think about the devastation and disappointment that I had caused them. I blamed my parents for my situation. I even blamed Jehovah. My family missed me so much, even after all I had done. What helped them to remain loyal to Jehovah for the many years I was disfellowshipped? It was the Bible account of Aaron. Jehovah directly judged 2 of Aaron's sons and put them to death. In this case, Jehovah asked Aaron and his family not to mourn in order to show the entire nation that they supported Jehovah's judgment. Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron.
Whenever Watchtower needs to defend their more inhumane policies, they always turn to the Old Testament, and the story of Aaron is one of their favorites. Just think about how cruel this story is. God kills 2 of Aaron's sons for desecrating his temple, yet Aaron is not allowed to mourn their death. JW parents are also expected to face the symbolic loss of their children with the same cold-faced stoicism, because begrudging the decisions of the elders would equal renegating against God himself.
They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family, and they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
Is this not blackmail, guys? The only way Sonia can speak with her parents again is if she returns to the congregation. What if she no longer believes in the religion? It doesn't matter. In that case, she's supposed to pretend and beg the elders to reinstate her, because as long as she stays disfellowshipped, she's not allowed to even say hi to her family. Not even a, "Hey, Mom and Dad, I'm still alive" message. Sonia could have been at the hospital giving this call to her mother, and her mother was still not supposed to answer.
I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years. I had 2 children now, and as time went by, I thought about their future. I thought more and more about returning to Jehovah in the congregation, but I didn't feel worthy.
Psalm 86.
One day, 2 elders stopped by and kindly reminded me that Jehovah wants me to return to him. They showed me Psalm 86 verse 5, where it says that Jehovah is ready to forgive.
Ready to forgive.
I thought about that verse the rest of the day. Jehovah is ready to forgive. So I decided to go to the Kingdom Hall for the first time in many years.
After giving the matter careful consideration, the Stuarts did the unthinkable and walked away from the religion they had once embraced. And although it had seemed like the right thing to do at the time, the disapproval they faced in the community as a result of their actions would ultimately prove too much to bear, at least for one of them. Lauren would later complain that she couldn't even go grocery shopping without being subjected to dirty looks and hateful comments from people she had once thought of as friends. Though the disparaging remarks weren't said to her face, they were deliberately uttered within earshot. And in a city with a population of only 3,300 residents, many of whom were Jehovah's Witnesses, she and her family were forced to come to terms with the fact that members of the church in good standing would be reminding them of their status as non-entities any time the opportunity arose. In dire need of something to raise her spirits, Lauren started going to the gym several times a week to work out to boost her physical and emotional well-being. Before long, she was in such good shape that she landed a job as a fitness instructor. And as a natural beauty, she also hired herself out as a model with a fair degree of success. And whilst the modelling photos depicted a woman who exuded confidence, her bravado was merely an illusion. Beauty is indeed only skin deep, and it can mask all manner of troubles. Those who knew Lauren during that time described her as pleasant and bubbly with an optimistic outlook on life, in spite of her loss of standing in the church. And while this may have been the image she chose to portray to the world, underneath it all, she was suffering on a level that no one could imagine. Lauren's ongoing battle with chronic depression, something she had struggled with even before being shunned by the religion, worsened on a seemingly daily basis. Though she tried to mask it as best she could, cracks would appear from time to time, which she would quickly fill with a fake smile. One of Lauren's most closely guarded secrets involved the family's mounting debt, which was pushing them to the brink of ruin. Finding herself drowning both financially and emotionally, she formulated a plan that would take care of all of her problems in one fell swoop. On the night of February the 6th, Lauren recorded what authorities would later characterize as a suicide video, outlining her intentions. In the footage, she assumed sole responsibility for the drastic actions that she was contemplating. She also apologized to her family for the problems she believed she had inadvertently set in motion by suggesting that they free themselves from the unyielding grip of the church. The next day she made a second video providing more details as to what had led her down this tragic path. According to Lauren, who had 10 siblings, the events that had turned her into a monster could be traced way back to her childhood. She claimed that the sexual abuse she had endured as a youngster had forever scarred her psyche, making it impossible for her to function normally in society without some sort of emotional cushion. When her church family turned their collective backs on her, she had been left floundering in a sea of misery, from which the only escape, to her mind at least, was death. After coming to the grim conclusion that killing herself was the answer to all of her problems, she decided to take her loved ones with her to spare them the shame that her actions would bring upon their household. On the evening of February the 15th, 2018, Lauren, who had become more and more detached from reality in the previous months, grabbed the pistol her family didn't even know that she owned, and killed those she claimed to love one by one. The first to die was her 47-year-old husband Dan, a medical researcher who was employed by the University of Michigan. After finding him relaxing in the furnished basement, she had snuck up on him, weapon in hand. When he realized what was happening and tried to flee, she shot him in the head using a throw pillow as a silencer, which was a method that she had researched online. Having neutralized her biggest threat, she then headed upstairs to where her daughter was fast asleep in her room. Positioning herself a few feet from the bed, Lauren simply pointed the gun at Bethany and pulled the trigger. The gifted graphic designer, who had celebrated her 24th birthday just a month earlier, died instantly. Now, since 27-year-old IT wizard Stephen had a place of his own across town, Lauren had to lure him to the home under false pretenses. Upon his arrival at the family home, he had apparently gone straight to work on whatever task she had concocted for the occasion, unaware, of course, that he was in grave danger. Well, while his back was turned, the mother that he adored had shot him from behind at point-blank range. When she was finished killing her spouse and children, as you do, Lauren had dispatched the family dog and placed its body in the bathtub. After tidying up the house, which clearly was by now acting as a makeshift morgue, She ended the carnage by putting the barrel of the gun between her eyes and pulling the trigger. After the events of February the 15th made headlines, Lauren's father and one of her sisters told news outlets that she had been estranged from them for years, presumably through the excommunication. But they did claim that they had always wanted to re-establish a relationship with her. They alleged that Dan had stood in the way of their reunion. They recalled that he had begun distancing Lauren from them early on in the marriage, eventually cutting them out of her life altogether. No mention was made of the abuse that was referenced in the final suicide tape. Early on the morning of the murder-suicide, Lauren had left a message on the answering machine at Dan's place of work, informing them that he had passed away unexpectedly. Well, he didn't fucking expect it, at least. When his stunned co-workers heard what happened, they had tried all day to get in touch with the family, but all of the calls had gone unanswered. At around 5 p.m, Lauren had sent a text to a cousin describing herself as evil and saying that she had to kill her husband and children in order to spare them from further humiliation. Obviously alarmed by the message, I mean, who wouldn't be? The recipient of the bizarre communication had tried until well after midnight to get in touch with Lauren without success. Shortly after sunrise, Lauren's cousin and a friend decided to pay a visit to the house on Cass Lake Road to see if everything was all right. No, it bloody wasn't. When no one answered their persistent knocks on the door, they phoned 911 and requested a welfare check. When officers entered the residence, they discovered the havoc that the family matriarch had wreaked.
Sad to report that on Friday, February 16th, 2018, at approximately 08:10 hours this morning, Keego Harbor officers responded to a welfare check at a residence in the 2300 block of Cass Lake Road in Keego Harbor. Officers were met by a relative who had concern for the residents. Officers entered the home and located 4 deceased victims in what appears to be a family situation, murder-suicide. There is no danger to the community. The suspected perpetrator of this tragedy has been accounted for. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family and to the friends of the victims. The Keego Harbor Police Department is continuing their investigation into this incident. If you are aware of any information that could help us out, we'd like you to contact us at 248-682-3030 or email that information to Detective Barnes at barnes@khpd.org.
Investigators would later determine that she had shot and killed every living being in the house, including herself, sometime between 9 and 10 p.m. It was around that time that neighbours reported hearing a series of loud bangs, which they had mistakenly believed were the result of doors being slammed nearby. On the dining room table lay a suicide note in which Lauren had once again attempted to explain her motives. Pointing to her decision to stray from her religious beliefs as the main catalyst, she reiterated that she had to kill her family to save them from living under the stigma of the mortal sin she was about to commit. Her final words implied that she was doing them a favor by taking their lives. On reflection, it's clear that Lauren Stuart was in serious mental turmoil and needed professional help. But unquestionably, her relationship to her religion, who had not exactly shown mercy, charity, and understanding to the Stuart family simply for wanting their children to have the opportunity to better themselves, it compounds an already tragic situation and shows the additional pressures that being outcasts in a small community can have on an already damaged and suffering psyche. We'll never know the minutiae of what was going on in Lauren's mind the day that she did what she did. But it seems obvious that she felt that she had no choice, which is beyond tragic. This suffering woman obviously made her own choices, but I do hope that the local community, predominantly made up of Jehovah's Witnesses, feel suitably guilty and ashamed for their part in this tragedy.
My name is Joyce Taylor. Please excuse the intrusion. I'll only be a moment. No, you cannot touch me. You cannot touch me. 2 days ago. 2 days ago. You're away for a minute. 2 days ago. You can call the police. Please do. 2 days ago, Daniel Lauren Stuart died. 4 people died as a result of your shunning process.
Can we go in the back and talk?
No. 5 years ago, all of you pulled your support from this small family. From this small family.
Please get down.
And you all, do not touch me. Do not touch me.
Please get down.
The only supports they ever had was you people. And you turned them away and you shunned them. For what? Because they wanted to raise their children as they saw fit. Jesus said,
the police are on their way.
that you did this to Elisa Line. You did it to me. Let that sink in. Do any of you realize just how fragile the human psyche is? I hope in your prayers today you will find that in your heart. Ask forgiveness for what you guys did. This is terrible.
We need to be careful getting there.
Do not touch me.
Lauren Stuart seemed to have a picture-perfect life, but police say the former Jehovah's Witness gunned down her entire family in a gruesome murder-suicide that shocked the nation. And now, in a Daily Mail TV exclusive, Lauren's friend Joyce reveals what happened in the moments leading up to the tragedy and why she believes the religious sect has blood on their hands. It was a horrific scene. 45-year-old Michigan mother and model Lauren Stuart shot and killed her husband, her 2 adult children, and the family dog, and then turned the gun on herself after allegedly being shunned by the Jehovah's Witnesses religious sect. According to reports, the victims had been shot in the head and a handgun was found at the grisly scene.
I knew right away it was Lauren. Lauren was very depressed. Very depressed.
Longtime friend Joyce Taylor says Lauren and her family had left the Jehovah's Witness religious sect about 5 years ago in order to send their kids to college, something that is banned by the church. And as a result, Joyce says they were shunned by the religious sect.
When they decided to leave, they were told they would be disassociated. The only people Lauren knew were all Jehovah's Witnesses. She was very fragile. She didn't know any other belief system.
With friends and support systems gone, all Lauren had left were the darker remnants of her faith.
She still believed that Armageddon was just around the corner. She believed she was saving her children by killing them before Armageddon came.
Outraged that the church's shunning and its aftermath may have driven Lauren to murdering her family, Joyce confronted members at a recent meeting.
4 people died as a result of your shunning process. You turned them away and you shunned them. For what? I wanted to let them know that all 4 of them were dead, and it was because of the shunning process that they have. When these people order a shunning, they don't understand they are doing this to somebody who's already on the edge. This is a dangerous, dangerous cult.
And joining us now is crimeonline.com's Nancy Grace. Nancy, as a former prosecutor, it is likely that Lauren snapped as a result of being shunned by Jehovah's Witnesses. What do we know about this?
Well, of course, the snap theory is not entirely a criminal defense, but what we know about that possible motivation is that she and her entire family left the Jehovah Witness religion allegedly because they frowned upon people going to higher education, such as college or university. And that is part of the ideology, according to reports, that when you leave the congregation, those remaining do shun you.
And Nancy, there are shocking revelations shared by those closest to Lauren. Her friend Joyce said that Lauren thought she was saving her children by killing them. What does that say about the killer's mindset?
Well, firmly, she believed they would all be reunited after death. And also, I have seen in many so-called religious killings by mothers, they believe that life on earth is too heinous, too difficult, too frustrating, too painful for their children. And they truly believe it's best to take them on to the next world. By killing the entire family, she clearly believed they would be reunited and would travel to the next world together.
Well, as always, Nancy, thanks so much for shedding light on this disturbing story.
This video is obviously dedicated to the Stuart family, and I send love and condolences to all of those touched by this horrible, horrible event. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Don't forget that CrimeCon UK will be coming to Manchester in September. And there is still time to get involved with one of the UK's finest true crime events. And if you use my code CROWS, you can get 10% off tickets. But with that said, I'm Steve. Samson has gone off in a diva huff. So while that part-timer's out of the picture, I will just say, I'm Steve, and I'll see you when I see you.
Say that you're ready, but you won't like it, you say